Sure. Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'll call the December Audit and Control Committee meeting to order. We have 4 members present, constitutes a quorum. If everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from the previous meetings, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just beg your pardon, but at about 10:30, I am going to have to scamper if we don't get that.
Okay.
Scamper?
I apologize.
No problem with things happen, so.
Let me know when it's
What is
10:30,
going
because I
on,
want to
so.
see Fred scamper.
Well,
I want to be turned around to see him scamper.
the scamper.
My mission is to go collect my wife at the airport, yeah. Don't dare be late.
Well, sure. Give yourself
You
enough
better
time.
scamper.
Privilege of the floor. At this time, is there anyone here to address the committee? If so, please come up front and introduce yourself. Not seeing any takers. We will move into our resolutions. Our first proposed resolution today is to confirm the transfer of Hangar A at the Chautauqua County Airport, Jamestown, from CCIDA to the county.
Mark Geis, Deputy County Executive for Economic Development, CEO of the IDA.
Good morning, John McNamara, Airport Manager.
So the resolution in front of you is to confirm transfer of Hangar A, the Chautauqua County Airport in Jamestown, from the IDA to the county, and to retire the CCIDA bond debt. So I'm gonna try to weave a little story here, give you some details, not overwhelm you, but because it is kind of complicated and it goes back to 1995, this whole thing. The county and the IDA collaborated to construct Hangar A at Jamestown Airport in the mid-90s. This involved the county leasing land to the IDA for up to 30 years, starting in 1995 and terminating in 2025. The IDA and the county constructed the Hangar A in 1995, 1996, using proceeds from a $252,000 IDA bond purchased by the county. The bond had a 5% interest and a 2016 maturity date. Language in the bond agreement states the following: the bond is a special obligation of the agency, the IDA, payable solely from the revenues derived from the project, including but not limited to sublease and loan agreements with the project. It continues, it says it 3 places in the bond, nor shall this bond be payable out of any funds of the IDA other than those pledged. The liability of the IDA shall be enforceable only out of the agency's interest in the project, and there shall be no other recourse against the agency. That's important. I'm going to say that again later on. All rental income proceeds from Hangar A since the initial lease were applied to the Hangar A IDA bond until 2020, when the county took over leasing responsibilities. And thereafter, the lease payments were not applied to paying down the bond principal or interest. The ground lease with the IDA was terminated in 2023, at which time the county assumed ownership of the property pursuant to the lease language. However, the bond debt balance of $81,371 remains on the county's books. Hangar A was improved when Luscombe leased it, using proceeds from an IDA loan, including heat, offices, bathrooms, overhead doors, etc. The value of Hangar A, and John and I talked about this, is estimated to well exceed $500,000. So it's not only was it built, but it was improved. Again, the bond language states that the IDA is responsible for paying down the bond only to the extent that the IDA receives revenues derived from leasing Hangar A, not from any other agency funding sources. Furthermore, any liability of the agency shall be enforceable only out of the agency's interest in the project, and there shall be no other recourse against the agency. So this resolution officially transfers Hangar A from the IDA to the county and forgives the remaining bond debt of $81,371 via resolution.
Mr. Chairman, so went through this, can I understand the accounting of this for a moment? 'Cause- So who has title to the building and the equipment therein right now?
The county.
County does. We already own that.
Well, per the lease, it does, but we wanted to, the legal department thought it would be prudent to actually have a resolution that makes that official, not just in the lease language, but
Right. And
from
so
this, yep,
there's an outstanding remaining liability on the bond of $81,000.
yes,
Who's responsible for that bond now before we do this?
the IDA.
Ideas.
But
So the county is here proposing to take that liability on board?
not really, because the lease language, or the bond language, basically says that the IDA is responsible for the bond debt only out of proceeds received from, and we're not getting those lease payments anymore. So it should be forgiven. Because the
Well,
county has been getting since 2020, the rental on that hangar.
So, we're using unassigned fund balance. That to me says we're writing a check to somebody.
No, you're just forgiving the debt,
All right, so we are writing off an asset.
yeah.
So we're writing off an asset of 81,000, all right.
And you're getting a $500,000 plus hangar that the
Okay.
IDA basically paid for.
All right, so then my question to Chairman Chagnon is, in the fund balance, when we talk about that, always thought that was all assets. Is it an asset minus liability situation?
Yes.
And what are our total liabilities in the fund balance? Roughly? Big, small? Nothing?
Sam, you want to
Okay,
take a shot
Sam.
at that?
I will get that actually from Todd for you on this.
Okay, anyway. So I think that, because when I saw this, what we're really getting is equipment. I said, wait a minute, I thought we were getting a building.
Building.
Okay, well then, why does it say equipment? Right down at the bottom, which just says what we're getting under the appropriations account.
I think that's a loose term for the hangar. I mean, honestly.
It should
the
say
equip-
building.
What?
I
It's
would say
the
it should
building
say
and its
building.
contents.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's all of it,
I mean, it's real property and equipment
yeah,
from private sector language.
right.
Okay, because last night Legislator Gustafson said, hey, good deal, we're getting 500,000 here for 80,000. And then I saw, wait a minute, we're just getting the equipment. No, we're getting the equipment and the building.
Correct.
Okay. Somebody
Yep.
want to,
Good point.
We could write the whole enchilada.
Any other questions?
How do you spell enchilada?
Yeah, well, it's on the table. What are we doing with the building now? I mean, it's a valid question. Since here we are discussing it, CCI, the IDA is kind of washing their hands of it and moving away from it. But, we've had quite a little bit of a history in the last few years with this building, and it's proven not to be very favorable. So yes, we have a $500,000 building, but it's useless unless we can utilize it. So what
Do
are
you
we
mind
doing?
if I jump on that real quick?
Go ahead.
Well, first of all the equipment is still there that Luscombe purchased. There was an auction that took place. The IDA lent them money. We had collateral on the equipment, went through an auction process. We got 20 cents on the dollar for what we'd lent them. We're responsible for getting that stuff out of there, and we're working very hard. There's supposed to be a truck there today. We had to play hardball with them. Believe me, and we've been working together on that. Meanwhile, some months ago, John did a request for proposals for that hangar space and got several, right? You got several interested parties, but you know, obviously the stuff needs to be cleaned out of there before you can actually do anything.
You know, I just will reiterate a really thorough process of leasing that. I mean,
Yeah.
we had a lot of red flags moving into Luscombe, which we should have been more aware of. And look, you know, it's really ended up costing the IDA a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, why, you know, we kept going down that path even though there's a lot of flags saying maybe not. But we kicked out some people, made them mad, it is what it is. And then now we have a hangar that's full of stuff that we can't get rid of, and people want, you know, you know, let's not go down the same path again.
Yep.
You weren't here then.
Agreed. No.
But I don't want to be
certainly-
here in 4 years now.
Certainly agree. Good points. You know, different options for the hangar. As Mark indicated, there was some interest in the hangar in the previous RFP. We can go back out for a new RFP. Maybe we'll get similar interest or other interest, aerospace type manufacturing, things along those lines. Also, a self-serve small aircraft hangar, as it was used for a number of years. We see demand for that as well. So, and that would be different than the current space that we have at Jamestown, which is really kind of a full service through Centric. So that's just a couple of the options, and I'm sure there's others as well.
How broad do you put that RFP out?
So, previously, when we put it out, that was before my time that it was put out. But I would like to see it be much been in the past. I feel that we definitely can improve on how we market our assets at the airport and cast a wider net, and I think that's really important. So in doing, if we were to go back out with another RFP, we would certainly look to do that.
Yeah, I think a good broad spectrum would be great. You know, you never know what would be out there, say a company that's looking for space and they're in Texas, but they're willing to come up here and operate, but they didn't know about the
Sure.
potential, you know, so it's just that, you know, I don't know what it's not my realm, but I, you know, how you put that RFP out so people identify it.
Yep. So that marketing is key on that. We have been working on developing a relationship with like commercial real estate listing services. And there's a lot of paperwork that's involved in that, you know, to get that all set up, but working on that so that we're able to go out and even nationally advertise.
Great.
What were we getting for approximate rent for that building?
I believe it was $18.50 from Luscombe.
Are we gonna
A month.
be able to at least realize that going forward?
I would like to think at least that, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with the addition of all the,
Yes. So it was $18.50. There were rent credits applied for the improvements that were made.
Improvements,
So, you know, month cash in hand, I want to say it was around 1,300 or so.
so we're
Monthly,
shooting to,
Yes.
couple
I
thousand.
believe this space is, you know, worth more than that.
well, let's hope
So,
everybody
yeah,
else
yeah.
thinks that too.
Yeah.
I think we looked into that, and it was like $3,000 or to $4,000 or somewhere around there, perhaps. I don't want to
Right, no.
set expectations too high, but certainly, I think more than what the county was getting.
Good.
If marketed to the right person,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
find that person. There's someone out there that needs that space, that would bring something in here that would be really beneficial to the county, maybe some job creation is what you originally built the thing for. You know, it's just finding that person.
Yeah.
And obviously they're, you know.
Would you be able to get
RFP is
that
important.
as a private hangar?
So, as a private hangar, it would most likely be general aviation aircraft, light, up to like a light twin, so like a 6-seat piston light twin. The hangar door doesn't go high enough for like a jet,
Right.
or larger aircraft. But, you know, if you figure, if you put 12, 13, 14 airplanes in there at $250 a month,
Right, adds up, okay.
you know, you just say it costs you some money to advertise and market this. You know, you'll get the return if you find the person, and hopefully you know, and yeah, even after a few months, right? You know, so it's, and then do we have a long-term renter that will pay too, you know, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, the space needs to be used, it's inside the fence, so it must be used for aviation-related activities. But that can be aerospace manufacturing, that could, you know, there's, as long as it's aviation use. So that's, you know, that does narrow the market maybe some. However, for that type of business, it may be really advantageous for them to be in a building like that, that's inside the fence, secure, things like that. And then, as Mark mentioned, the improvements that have been made to the building definitely increase the value of the building with the heat and things like that. The power is a little bit of a challenge, the current power to the building for something of large scale manufacturing would likely need to be upgraded. That's one area that we can, you know, look to work with a prospective tenant on that, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Hate to be-
questions?
No, I was just looking up, if you also buy avionics or repairs on an aircraft in New York State, that is not sales tax exemption. So it seems to me that that would be a pretty good basis for doing that kind of work here in Jamestown. I just pulled up the
Yep.
New York tax.gov. And it, so not only the sale of aircraft, but their maintenance, repairs, avionics,
Yep.
fancy new seats are sales tax exempt, which is not the case in many other states. So it's a reason to
point.
have
And
a
that's,
good shop.
that's why that broad RFP is important, you know?
Yes.
You know, get that person, there's a person that is looking for that space, we gotta find them, so.
And we have a lot of experience over in planning and IDA with writing RFPs, and be glad to work
Yep.
with you on at least taking a look at it and giving you some ideas if you need them.
Any other questions?
No, you answered the one I thought of about what else we could use it for, but it has to be aviation related,
Yeah.
which could be, well, I don't know how broad or narrow that is, but there's possibilities there.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely possibilities.
Move the fence.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Next proposed resolution number 2 is authorized federal and state aid applications for Chautauqua County Dunkirk Airport 5-year capital improvement plan for the fiscal year of 2026 to 2030.
So you have in front of you our 5-year capital, airport capital improvement program, 5-year plan for the Dunkirk Airport, which is for 2026, 95% funded by the FAA, 2.5% funded by New York State, and 2.5% funded by the county, local share, from 2027 through foreseeable future. That funding reverts back to percent FAA funded, 5% state, 5% local share. I'm hoping you had received, sent an email earlier in the week regarding Airway Trust Fund and the revenues that are realized through that fund, through ticket sales, charges, fuel surcharges. All those revenues go towards the FAA budget, and one of the components of the FAA budget is capital improvement program, and the majority of the capital improvement program is funded through that Airway Trust Fund. So, just look at, you know, just through every single project, I guess, unless you'd like me to, I just, you know, working on our obstruction removal in Dunkirk is definitely a top priority. We'd be getting into the design of the 1533 rehabilitation. That's our crosswind runway in Dunkirk, taxiway B North. And then the T-hangar construction and T-hangar taxiway, that's on there. We've had that on there for the past few years. That would be contingent upon being awarded a state grant for that hangar. We've applied for that. We were not awarded it the last time we've applied, but we intend to apply again and are hopeful to receive a grant. The T-hangar in Dunkirk is full, and we have a waiting list for tenants in Dunkirk, so definitely could use the additional space.
Question on the capital plan as a whole. How do we get to this stage? So previously, is it a direct result from the work of your department, you yourself and your department? Does the airport commission help and assist in this? Is there a special committee? Is there outside resources that do the evaluation and helping with the project as far as safety and necessary upgrades and stuff? So is that kind of what's happening?
Yeah, great question. So it's a team, definitely a team effort. Lots of smart people involved in the process, smarter than me, with making the decision, looking at some of those things when it comes to engineering and construction. The basis for it is the Airport Improvement Handbook, the FAA's Airport Improvement Handbook. And the Airport Improvement Handbook lists eligible projects. So for example, our runway has a 20-year lifespan. So if the runway is eligible, it's been more than 20 years, and it's determined that the condition of the runway is in a certain state that makes it eligible for repair, rehabilitation, reconstruction, then that's an eligible project. So we partner with, we have a great team at the airport. We partner with our consultants in Jamestown and Dunkirk. We partner with our county legal team, support staff, purchasing, and we determine what is top priority at what time for our plan.
Does this go through the county planning board as well?
Yes. I've provided them
With the information?
information and a little bit more background on each project associated with that.
Questions, comments?
I still think the cost of studying these things is too expensive.
I
I heard
agree.
your presentation.
I agree.
Thank you for it. but,
I agree. It's definitely expensive, and I'm grateful that we have the funding in place with the trust fund and the FAA funding. That they basically, essentially, kind of my words, the self-funded system, user-funded system. So if we're not out flying and we're not out using jet fuel and paying taxes, usage fees on those, and flying in the seats, ticket sales, if we're not out generating that revenue, we're not putting that money towards the capital projects. And if we're not putting money into the capital projects, then we're not going to be able to get out there and use the system, right? So,
Well, and I'll say this is, I guess the regulations are put out there, and they're stepping up with the funds too. It'd be one thing if they were requiring requiring all this and having us do the work and the studies and that, and then making us cover the more of the expense of it. We have a portion, and it is really quite small.
yes.
But still, it's costly. So.
It is costly. I see it similar. I do I do see the controls that are in place for that. I see the FAA that's looking at, every airport in the country that falls under the capital improvement program. I see them looking at these projects. They're signing off on the projects. They obviously have a sound basis to compare projects, along with their expertise. Each project that's over $100,000 has an independent fee assessment. So, for example, been doing a lot of work on our terminal in Jamestown, renovations design. That is going out for a different consultant to do an assessment of those fees that the consultant that's performing the work or coordinating the work, they're reviewing that, and if they see that that is not within, normal terms, then they will flag that and let us know, and the FAA know as well on that. So there is multiple controls that are in place, to prevent somebody from being egregious with the pricing.
Other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution number 4 is authorized public hearing for lease of restaurant facilities at Chautauqua County Airport, Jamestown Airport to Archie's Airport Diner LLC.
Maybe skip one.
Did I skip one?
Yeah. Do the
Jamestown,
Jamestown.
5-year plan.
5-year, number 3.
Let's just skip over that one. It's not. Sorry. We can go back to number 3, I suppose. It's authorized federal and state aid application for the Chautauqua County Jamestown Airport 5-year capital improvement plan.
Yep, thanks. So, along the same lines, same idea as Dunkirk as far as the airport capital improvement program. We're excited for if approved through resolution. We're looking to begin construction in the spring. We've basically almost complete with the design of that. Spent a lot of time working on different finishes, flooring, ceiling tiles, wall coverings, bathroom upgrades, both bathrooms. So we're really excited for that. The runway 1331 rehabilitation, that's our crosswind in Jamestown. Also, we're past our 90% design on that. So we'll skip a year for construction on that. So that will be a spring of 2027 construction. Hangar L and terminal restaurant renovations improvements. That is the big hangar next to the terminal. That's primarily a new heat system, which we're definitely in need of that. So a new heat system, and then the terminal restaurant renovations, that would be outside of the scope of work that we're doing in the terminal building renovations, because it's a revenue producing area in the terminal. That would be windows, new windows, safety enhancements, perhaps fire suppression, grease trap, hot water tanks, things like that, upgrades. Taxiway, the SRE snow removal equipment, that's a broom, a multi-tool broom blower or plow on that piece of equipment. We're excited for that. We're looking to possibly demo a similar piece this winter. And then it lightens up a little bit there in 28, 29 with Taxiway Delta design of that. And then Foxtrot is possibly that's a realignment for the taxiway. And then 2030 is the construction of Taxiway Delta.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Sounds pretty good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Feds are pushing a lot of money into Chautauqua County and the airports.
Next, I suppose we can get to number 4. I won't put my check mark on it until now. Is authorize a public hearing for lease of restaurant facilities at the Chautauqua County Airport, Jamestown Airport to Archie's Airport Diner LLC.
Yep, so, excited for, potential of, restaurant at the airport starting, in March. Archie's Airport Diner, idea being a breakfast and lunch and grab-and-go options, potentially, maybe one weekend a month, dinner, and then potentially a Friday, fish fry for that.
Who is Archie's Airport Diner? Local business?
So local business, not currently a restaurant, but a local business, proprietor, with, culinary experience, background, that's looking to start a new restaurant.
I welcome anyone who's willing to give it a try. So
Yeah.
that, a little different perspective than hangar rental. The restaurant business is tough, and it's been proven to be difficult up there especially. So if someone's willing to raise their hand and say aye, hopefully it'll work for them.
I got just one new comment. Just came to me, or not, I've been thinking about it. I believe in the past, we've always included the utilities with this, and just a thought. So if they're up there catering or whatever, gas is gonna be used. So let's say they become very successful, which would be fantastic, and they're baking and cooking all day, which is more use of gas, and it wouldn't be hard to increase the gas bill by $100 or $200 or $300, and all of a sudden the $900 gets less and less. So a consideration. I don't know if it's too late to consider. That just concerns me a little bit.
No, you make very valid points. So the $900, my understanding of previous rent, historically, there's been multiple operators. That's pretty decent comparative to what we've gotten, out.
It's decent compared to what we've
What we
got,
got, but the idea being, so I see it similar as you see it similar, as far as we need to make sure we're accounting for utilities. We're also, the bathrooms, that's maintained by the airport. The parking lot is maintained by the airport.
that $900
yeah.
figure
Yes.
is nice, but it shrinks
Yep,
as we're participating.
yes.
That's my concern.
Yep, no, I see it similar, and that's the idea with the 1-year lease, to kind of see, ultimately, we want to work with the operator to be successful.
Yeah, oh,
right? So we
absolutely.
want to set them up for success. We can't give it away. We need to be reasonable. He's been very reasonable, in the negotiations, and so I feel good, that number is kind of middle ground for, keep making it a success, but also make sure we're recovering our costs and making some revenue.
Well, as we're finalizing this, just consider,
Yes,
especially the gas use. I mean, it's not hard to,
yep,
which means they're making more money also, or it should mean that. The more use of the
Yes.
equipment, more
Yep.
products going out. Just
yep,
900's nice, but that
Sure.
can shrink down real quick, so.
Is the heat in that building gas or electric?
gas.
Gas, okay. Because we'd have to set up separate metering if it were a net lease, wouldn't we?
What's that?
In other words, how do you distinguish between what's their use and what's the general building's use? on
Yes,
heat
right
and
now, there's not separate
That's
meters.
what I thought, yeah.
My mouth's watering just thinking about it. Might be those cherry.
$100 hamburgers.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution number 5 is to amend the capital project accounts at Jamestown Community College.
Here we go. Señor, aquí a su derecha.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Need a stick.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Kathleen Dennison. I'm the interim executive director of administrative services for Jamestown Community College. And the resolution you have before you today is to make adjustments between capital projects for the college. And 2 reasons for the adjustments. One reason is pertaining to all the $300 adjustments. Quite frankly, earlier this year, we did a resolution and we did not do it correctly. So we amended the wrong projects. So we just need to move some money around so that we're not over budget in one of the projects.
You made a mistake.
We made a mistake. Yeah. Yes, we did.
Red ink on the exam.
And then the other adjustment pertains to the 3731 adjustments. The projects for the college, we have to stay within budgets for not only the county fiscal years, but also the state fiscal years. And when I was doing a year-end reconciliation of our projects, I discovered that one of the projects, somehow we overspent the state allocation. So this is our IT infrastructure project. We still have funds available in the county project, but we had overspent the state allocation. So I am asking to return 3731 to fund balance and reduce the budget for our IT project. And the reason for doing that is that if we were to spend this money, we would not be eligible for state reimbursement. And the state portion is twice this amount of money, so we would be out that money if we proceed and use the county funds.
Okay. There's a lot to manage with capital accounts. There's so many moving
it
parts and
is.
pieces. Is my experience of just being on the opposite side of I've always been on the side where, I've received the explanation of this, and this rule, and for multiple, for governments or schools or anything in the very complex systems, and so it's.
Yes,
I
I
can
mean,
see where a mistake could be made
Yeah,
easily.
I mean,
but,
yes, it doesn't seem like it would be hard, but it is hard.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not unlike a lot of the capital projects, you have the federal projects with the airport, for example, and all of these operating on different fairs. So it is definitely a balancing act to keep all the projects in the right place with the right budgets and the actual expenditures tied to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, questions, comments?
How was the project in the library coming along?
Good question, Legislator Nelson. It's finished. And it came in slightly over budget, but we were able to reallocate funds from some of our other projects within the college, so no additional funds needed from the legislature. But the project is completed from a capital standpoint. We still have some moving around to do. I mean, there's still a lot of books in boxes.
Yeah, I've noticed there.
Yeah, so the construction work is done, the asbestos is all abated. Yeah, so the Erie Contracting who did the work, they have been completely paid. So now what's left is going to be done by our staff. And it includes, there's still some weeding out of library materials, so some of all those boxes of books, some of those books will not be retained. So the library staff still has to, as I said, weed through some of those books and then put them back on the shelves. But other than that, and a little bit of signage too, but other than that, it's completed.
The floor is in good shape.
Yeah, yes, floor's in good shape. We filled in that pit that used to be in the middle of the library there, so it's all level. And as I said,
It's all good stuff under there now.
yes, yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you very much.
The next proposed resolution is number 6, which is setting the salary for the network security and analyst. John D'Angelo won't be present
Right.
today, but he has offered,
John was at
Some
Administrative
explanation.
Services and presented this resolution, and I spoke to him and he asked if I would just read what he sent out to us about not being here today. So, he starts with, "I will be unable to attend the December 11th Audit and Control meeting as my daughter is graduating from college out of town." Item number 6, proposed resolution setting the salary for the network security analyst is related to a new position to battle our ever-present and growing cybersecurity threat. This person will work with the network infrastructure and server teams in the IT department under the direction of the network infrastructure supervisor. It is a highly technical position and has been positioned by HR via civil service as a CSEA 6300 grade 24, 2025 starting salary of $35.21 per hour. This position is within our planned 2025 budget, and he also spoke that it was in the 2026 budget. Sam shaking his head yes, so I feel confident on that. So it's covered under the budget already, so he does also say thank you as always, and please reach out if you have any additional questions. So don't ask me the questions, I just told him I would read that. His presentation was good at Administrative Services, it made sense, and too many questions for him, but
So this person would work directly under John? Or is John his supervisor?
I don't know if John is the network infrastructure supervisor.
No, he's not.
He is not, so.
Works under another individual,
Okay.
My
very
ex-
experienced individual.
my experience is whenever John asks for something, it's something we need. He's always very reasonable and does a good job with his budget.
We'll need this.
Yeah, yeah. So,
okay.
that's all I have. Hopefully that's enough.
No, I agree with the position is important, and I hope he can fill it and get the person up and running.
Right.
Other questions, comments?
Oh, and he was hoping to fill it, or they're gonna post it, I think he said in January, after the first of the year. So,
Great. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed? It's carried. Proposed resolution number 7 is to amend the 2025 budget to increase the Jurassic Office Building Security Project budget using interest earnings from American Rescue Plan Act.
There you go.
Good morning, Sam Zafuto, Deputy Director of Finance. Noel Gutman, the County Safety Coordinator, sends his apologies. He was not able to be here this morning, but I did get a chance to discuss this with him yesterday before Public Safety, and also with Josh Rothwell yesterday before that meeting as well. This is proposing to use $64,960 of ARPA interest earnings to basically finish this project. This is an overage, and there was a substantial change in vendor on one phase of this project. The security access and control vendor, from the initial quote to actually the one we now have to work off of, the vendor changed hands. It was at a later date. It also had to be a vendor that could tie into the existing security software that the county had. So it was limited, and that later quote with a new vendor has led to a price increase on this project. This proposes to use ARPA interest. This would leave about $19,500 after talking to Blake yesterday of interest earnings at this time to complete this project.
Questions, comments?
that, what you just said, the ending there, that's how much
Would be left after this use.
after this?
Yep.
And that number was how
Well,
much?
Blake said it was just under 20,000, about 19,500, and that would have been the number as of the end of October. I did not have.
I heard it as 90,
Yeah,
not
no.
19, so
Nope,
that's why
19,500.
I was really excited there for a
Yeah.
second.
Sam, obviously, through projects, things change and vendors happen. It just wasn't identified that a vendor that put the bid in was.
That was our existing vendor. I'm not sure what happened with law and purchasing, but that contract is no longer, is gone. It's actually been, I believe, terminated. We have a new vendor and a new contract in place. So with that, and at a later date, that price was increased, and it had to be a vendor that could tie into the already software here without replacing that. So it kind of limited that field down a little bit.
Did that vendor put in a bid that it wasn't capable of doing and we accepted it, or the vendor, do you know any of the?
See, that, I'm not sure what happened with the initial
Okay.
vendor that was on that. I just know that through law and purchasing, that there's a new vendor in place now at this point.
Yeah, I just hope we don't have that situation arise again in sense
And I
of.
believe this has a new contract with, it's a whole new vendor in play with TR Joy, essentially, that can handle the access security devices here in this building and for the county.
Just remind us, the GOB security project, that project in total, what's the bill for that?
She's looking it up really quick. I don't have it off the top of my head initially in front of me.
I mean, I'm trying to get a sense of, is percentage-wise, is this a big change, small change?
It's a substantial change.
I've had contractors come to me before with hands in pockets saying, no can do.
Yeah, but at this time, it's a completely separate contractor essentially. So it's not the first one coming back saying, I need an extra 64. It's essentially a new player and a new bid essentially that we requested that is doing this.
And that the original project was $170,000.
Right, so it's a
It's a
significant
significant
Yeah.
increase.
whoops,
Yeah. And I just, I think it's important that we really, that's the importance of the project, is look how big of a change that is. So, whoever's receiving these bids and something was missed there, there's an
Yeah.
error made. And,
Well,
that's
there
what
was
I'm
some
trying
sort,
to
whatever
put
the
my
change
finger on.
was with that vendor. Yeah, it was a vendor. It wasn't really the bid. It was a change in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it was not vetted properly, though, I mean, if the vendor puts a bid in, they can't do the work because of they can't do the work, then we can't accept that bid, so, or
but I'm-
redo the RFP. That's my point is, it's a substantial amount. It's what's the percentage, what's 64,000, what's that percentage of the $170,000 project? That's a big,
Yeah, no, it's a substantial.
substantial amount.
Increase to this project.
And then my point is if, what's to say that we have another project that we have the same error on? I just don't, I just think that it's important to make a point that whatever the error is, if it was on the county or not, I'm sure that let's not do it again.
Well, that's on the front side, but, I'm just being devious-minded. This new contractor hasn't jammed us up because we're in a crack here because our old contractor failed, and so now
No,
this
I
is an
don't, see,
emergency
I
thing.
wasn't part of that bid process, but I'm assuming we did an RFP, they did a responsible bid back to us based on that. So whether they were aware or the scope of this, that is knowledge I would not have, so.
Because it's a hard place to be in an RFP when
Yeah,
you got
we're
a
in
bus
the middle of a
project.
project changing vendor, which is essentially, we were kind of already begun this, we're moving forward with it, and then this happens, and now you have an increased cost, and now you're in the middle of a project that you essentially kind of got to move forward with, and it's an important project too.
It's
based
not
on
a strong
just the world
negotiating
we live
position to
now.
be in, yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the concerns that are being raised here this morning are absolutely valid. What I would point out is that in my 12 years on the legislature, this has happened, I can't think of it as happening one other time. So this is not a typical event. This is a very unusual event that we find ourselves in. Very, very difficult, very concerning, but not something that happens often at all.
Any other
Yep.
questions?
Now, learning that, the only thing I would like to see as a legislator is when the executive department comes to us with something like this, that the request highlight that it is unusual, that it is a big miss, and that it's an issue, and not just pop it up here. Because, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
64,000 we can afford, but
But it's still 65, I mean, it's still subsizable.
pay the situation the respect it deserves.
Yep, Yep, understood.
Well, that's right, and just because it is rare, if we didn't raise concern or question how it became a rare situation, that it might not become rare if we have an issue. you know?
Yes,
So that's why,
exactly.
you
That's
know,
why the concerns that are raised today are very appropriate.
That's right, and I'm not saying that we expect that this is gonna happen on another project next, I just, it's just a question that, that
very
is
valid.
raised, yeah, so, and whatever the details are, and that's like Fred is, a little explanation around this situation just does help identify how it came to this, and, that's why we're asking the questions today, we're trying to find that information out,
Sure,
so,
I mean, it's,
yeah.
Yeah, no, clearly understood.
You get to be on the hot seat for it.
Hey, well, I welcome it.
I mean,
Okay.
I guess in plain English, just please don't slide interesting things through.
No problem.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution is number 8. It's to authorize agreement with various towns for court security services for the fiscal year of 2026.
Good morning, Sheriff Jim Quattrone.
For the unlawful school supervisor.
So this first resolution is, it's a renewal of the contract for, I believe, 3 courts. It's, again, renewal, we've moved it to a 2-year contract instead of a 1-year, but those amounts are for yearly costs of Town of Ellery, $6,000, Town of Charlotte, $5,000, and Town of North Harmony, $16,000. This has been included in our 2026 budget, so no amendment is needed.
And these are for a 2-year contract.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Great. Next,
Mr. Scudder, you just looked like you had a question.
I won't be
No,
starting
I
any
was just
trouble.
eager
in
to
any of these
approve.
towns. Next proposed resolution, number 9, is authorize agreement with Town of Charlotte for enhanced police protection for the services for the fiscal year 26.
Again, another contract, it's a renewal of a contract we've had for a few years with the Town of Charlotte for enhanced police services in the township. It's also a 2-year contract, but it's for $18,000 per year. Included in the 2026 budget, so no amendment is needed.
Mr. Chairman, why are the hourly rates so different between this one and the one we just approved?
Yes, that.
Pardon me?
Why are the hourly rates so different?
Oh, good question. For the court security, they're part-time, so there's, the salary is less and there's not benefits included. For the enhanced police protection, it's for full-time, which also includes not only the salaries, but also the benefits.
Why can't Charlotte do with part-time people too?
Because we don't have any part-time
People?
yeah. So that's been an issue we've had the last several years. We used to have boatloads of part-time people looking to go full-time. Now we have, like our current academy has 5 people in it, and we have about 20 openings in the county. Not just the sheriff's office, but countywide police agencies. So we have 1 part-timer right now, and he's just doing our court transports and inmate transports.
Well, then separately, that sounds like a systemic productivity opportunity going down the road to try and get back to where you used to be in terms of part-timers.
Believe me, we've been meeting several times. Just yesterday, I had a meeting with the police chiefs, trying to develop some plans to get more people in our academy, to be able to offer the academy more often, and at a reduced rate. So we have some plans in place. We've been working with the community JCC to try to increase those number of students that are going through it, but so we're still trying. But it's also not just isolated to Chautauqua County. This is not only statewide, but really nationwide issue that police agencies are having.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? Have you ever thought about going into high schools? And, I was a 12th grade government teacher, and you have colleges come in, and everyone, different groups come in and try to, encourage kids, think about a career in whatever. I mean, in police work, is that?
yes, we've done that. Plus, I think one of our best tools are our school resource officers
Yeah.
that can really promote the career field. Personally, I think part of our issues is the nationwide media portrays law enforcement in a negative sense.
Right.
Quite frankly, Chautauqua County, I believe, and I keep on saying this, we have overwhelming support from not only our legislature, but our communities, and that law enforcement in this area needs to stop buying into the national media and say, hey, we have a lot of the support, because SROs are good resources, but each individual officer is going to be our best resource. So any opportunity we have to promote the career field, we need to be doing that. And so, yes, we are going into schools. We're trying to do job fairs. The issue with sometimes with I personally, again, my belief is some of that building the excitement for the career field probably needs to start in elementary schools. When I talk to career officers, many of them had an interest early on. For me, I was like 5 or 6 years old when I wanted to do this. I'm sure you know somebody in your family that probably had that interest early on in life too. So,
I have a question just in regards of some thinking here. Over the years, different agencies and townships and schools have contracted with the sheriff's department, and actually has become a decent revenue source for the sheriff's department. If you tally them all up, we're probably paying for a couple deputies with all or more. We have a lot of contracts with schools, so I mean, they're really fully covering them,
yeah,
but.
the schools do pay for our school resource officers.
Yeah.
One of the issues, again, we're having is again, the schools' budgets are also tight.
Sure.
So they're having difficulty in finding officers who are interested in serving as school resource officers. It's not something we want to just force somebody in there. That could cause more, in my opinion, more damage. So we wouldn't force somebody to be a school resource officer. We need to find people who want to be there to do that, so.
We have other municipalities that contract with us to do this. Is it worth their while to have us do this, and are they getting their money's worth? I always question that in a sense. And also, we're covering those areas as well. I understand that. And also, if these, the agencies or these municipalities are looking for the extra coverage, and we're providing them that, where's the where are we losing coverage now in a sense too? And what has the county done to help bolster their own coverage in sense of, are we creating a lack in now the town of Findlay Lake, right? And now they're going to say, well, we need to have enhanced police protection because Jesus, there's just nobody around here. Well, you have to cover these other places that have the enhanced
Yeah,
protection.
when we are covering with enhanced police protection, really it's Ripley and Charlotte right now. Hanover has full-time coverage, so we have designated officers, full-time officers that are assigned to that. With the Ripley and Charlotte, we have an agreement with them, understanding that when we have extra staff, they will go there. We have 4 zones that we cover. Each zone covers anywhere between 6 and 8 townships. And so they're covering that, but we don't pull somebody out of the zone and leave the zone short to cover the townships. So that's why it's enhanced. The benefit to the townships is quicker response because they got somebody right in the town. And we've been asked by some other jurisdictions to do that, to cover, that already have full-time police agencies. And, our answer to them is we're gonna answer calls in any jurisdiction that we have to go to, but it also might take a while because we may be 4 or 5 townships away or on another call, so we can't dedicate to that. We're really not in a position currently to take on any other townships enhanced police protection, and due to staffing, the 2 that we have are always in, kind of limbo, whether we can fulfill that or not.
And you can't, it's hard to hire the part-timers to help fill some of those gaps.
We just don't have any trained, the issue is people can apply for the part-time job, but if they don't have the academy, we can't send them out on their own anyways, so.
Questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution is authorized memorandum of understanding with New York State, a unified court system for technology upgrades to courtrooms.
Good morning, committee. Madeline Contaglia for the District Attorney's Office. The first resolution that we have for today is to authorize a memorandum of understanding between the New York State Unified Court System for Technology Upgrades and the county. This is a new initiative from New York State Court System that is to upgrade all 3 courtrooms in Chautauqua County for technological updates, and that includes better audio and visual capabilities, mounted televisions, speakers, microphones, and anything that would be able to better present digital evidence that we would do during the course of a prosecution. The unified court system has required each district attorney's office in New York State to contribute to this initiative, and the DA's office for Chautauqua County will be contributing $120,000 over 4 years. So it'll be 4 installments of $30,000 each. We have opted to utilize aid to prosecution grant funds for this expense. And the aid to prosecution program is to assist our office with expenses related to the prosecution of violent felonies, or really all crime, but particularly violent felonies. And that's where you're going to see the most digital evidence that's going to need to be presented during a court trial or hearings. So this is no expense to the county for the local share. It's all utilization of grant funds. The district attorney did want me to note that he worked out a very good deal. A lot of the other DA's offices had contributed substantially more than we are contributing for the 4-year period.
Again, Mr. Chairman, if our share over 4 years is 120, what's the total project?
I'm not sure exactly what the total project was for New York State, but our contribution is that 120,000.
Well,
That's
so-
all that they've asked for us.
Said another way, the 120,000 is what percent of the project?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not 100% sure what the total expense was, but this was the deal that Jason had worked out with New York State court system for our contribution of it.
Will the money be used here in Chautauqua County for our courts, or is it goes into a pool that goes out to all the?
No, this is just for our 3 courtrooms in Chautauqua County in the
Okay.
courthouse.
So the funds will stay right here. Is the state matching any, this isn't covering the total cost of the project?
It is not covering the total cost. The state is going to be matching or contributing the remaining costs for it. So unfortunately, I don't know the total cost of the project or what the total cost is expected to be.
Do you think will there be an additional cost by the county for the projects, or will
They
the
have
state?
assured us that the 120,000 over the 4 years is all that the county will have to contribute.
So no matter what it costs, the state's gonna
Correct,
contribute the rest.
correct.
So, Kitty or somebody, please, could we just be informed as to what the total nut is? Are we building a Taj Mahal here, or is 120 most of it?
The state is building the system, is that correct?
The state is building the system.
Here.
The state, so the state is paying directly the cost of the system. We're giving them a portion of that cost, so our share will go to the state, and the state will incur the whole project cost.
I understand that, but what I want to know is, what's the whole nut?
Yeah.
You know, what do we, either through county funds or through our citizens' tax payments to the state, buying here?
And does the county have the input of what we want to use? And since that it's going into our courtrooms, can we pick the systems? Can we pick something that we have to maintain here going out there? We don't want to have some rare service or provider that is specializes in New York City but can never come to Chautauqua County, and now we have this system that doesn't work. So
Yeah, I believe that we will have input as to what is purchased for it. Just generally in paragraph 3 of the resolution, there's just some examples of what the funds will be or could be utilized for. It's not necessary that we would be purchasing all of those items, but the state courtroom modernization committee has come here at least twice that I'm aware of and reviewed the spaces and have kind of given a preliminary assessment of what they expect to be purchasing. And, you know, from my understanding, there's no outlandish equipment that, you know, is something that, you know, we would be left kind of holding if it were to be, you know, if it needed to be replaced and it was some kind of special equipment, or if it needed to be repaired and we needed some kind of special part for it. I'm not aware of any of those.
Madeline, I think it might be helpful if you're able to obtain that total cost
Yep.
from the state, but also how they're funding
Sure.
the project. So if some of it's coming from, you know, the state budget, or if it's coming from court fees, that might be useful to the committee
Sure.
to understand how the whole project is funded.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Would you say we're way behind the curve on this? Or because I'm reading it as we have no capability to use media equipment, it needs to be modified. Are we lacking?
We have a very limited capacity for what we can present in courtroom. So right now, in the county court building in Judge Foley's courtroom, we have a TV monitor that belongs to the district attorney's office that is the only monitor to project any type of digital evidence. And it like I said, it belongs to the DA's office. So if the defense has anything to present, they'd have to use our monitor for that. And it's not a very good setup. It blocks the box, but it blocks any spectators that are in the courtroom. So if you're trying to sit and watch the trial or the proceeding, you really can't see with this TV is just blocking the whole view. And it's very hard for all parties to see what's being played. So when it's a jury trial, the jury has to see it, the judge has to see it, the defense has to see it, and our prosecution team has to see it. So it's very, very hard to see everything on that one small screen. So my understanding is that they're gonna be putting up multiple screens in the courtroom so that it can be, the same items can be seen from different angles. And then, you know, as far as microphones, there's 2 or 3 microphones, one in the jury box, one at the podium, and one at the witness stand, and that's really it. And the judge has one as well. So it can be difficult to hear in there, because the speaker system is not very sophisticated, and there's not a lot of capabilities for that.
Good questions. It's hard to believe that it hasn't been brought up to date any sooner. So, I mean, I'm glad it's getting done. And, you know, it'll help, it'll help improve the efficiencies in the courtroom in general. So, great. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is to authorize acceptance of, what's SFY?
State fiscal year.
So the state fiscal year of 2025 to 2026 aid to prosecution funds.
So this resolution that we have before you today is to authorize the acceptance of the aid to prosecution funds that I just previously mentioned. For the 2025-2026 state fiscal year, the district attorney's office was awarded $744,299 in aid to prosecution funds. They are to be utilized to offset expenses incurred by the district attorney's office during the performance period related to the prosecution of felony offenses, but particularly violent felony offenses. The revenue was not included in the 2025 budget for the district attorney's office, so we are asking for a resolution to, or a budget amendment to increase the appropriation account for equipment and contractual expenses, but also to increase our state revenue by the same amount. So it's an increase of $155,135. It is budget neutral. For the 2026 budget, we're going to be doing an amendment for that as well. We just don't know what we're going to be including yet, so that will be forthcoming, I'm sure, in the next month or two.
Okay, good. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution number 12 is to continue agreement with New York State Department of Health for bathing beach water quality monitoring and notification program.
Good morning, folks. Jessica Worsley, Director of Environmental Health for Chautauqua County. This resolution is essentially a housekeeping resolution. It's just updating an existing resolution so that we can continue to accept the funds that come ultimately from the federal government through the state to our health department for us to collect and analyze bathing beach samples from Lake Erie. We use the money largely to staff the program. We hire an intern in the summertime, and then we have some mileage and supplies associated with the grant funds.
How often how many beaches are there that get monitored?
So we have roughly 25 beaches in the county. We have beaches on Lake Erie, on Cassadaga Lakes, on Chautauqua Lake, on Finley Lake, and then there are a few random ponds that are associated with campgrounds or children's camps. So those different beaches have different concerns. The Lake Erie beaches are a lot more dynamic with the weather and different patterns, things like some of the smaller ponds. They don't have as many inflows that we're concerned about. They're just ponds. So unless a flock of geese show up and, leave a bunch of droppings, they're usually fine.
Right.
So, we sample and we set a sample schedule based on the risk level and the usage that beach.
So depending on the weather, depending on so it varies year to year.
Well, so we set a standard for the Lake Erie beaches. Under the grant requirements, we're required to sample at least once a week. There are a couple of beaches in the Dunkirk area that we sample twice a week, just to keep an extra eye on those wonky Lake Erie weather patterns. But most of the beaches get sampled once a week or once every other week.
That's impressive.
Yep, it's a lot of, sure, and it's, an intern driving around, wading out in the water, collecting a vial. Do we process the vials in-house?
We do. We have our water lab in HRC that can handle this type of sampling, processing, and also our potable, drinkable water processing. So we utilize that lab for multiple purposes. Yeah,
Nice. It's good to know. Thank you.
absolutely.
Just thinking, a lot of people in the county don't know that we do that. It's important.
I was one of them,
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
but not anymore. I'm no
Well,
longer.
and we
one of
do
those.
have a
Probably
website.
bathing in Lake Erie quite
I do enjoy the bathing, yes, part of it.
I know people wonder why that word is there, but the idea is that, you know, a beach is a beach, it can be used for lots of things, but the idea is whether or not people are supposed to be going in the water to swim. Because permitted bathing beaches require certain safety equipment, lifeguards, depending on the usage. So there are some beaches in this county that people enjoy, but they clearly have no swimming signs on them. We are not involved with monitoring those beaches that have no swimming signs.
Now, how about a beach like Long Point on Chautauqua Lake, that's a state park?
So
Do we monitor that too, or?
the state actually pays us to collect weekly samples for them.
How is that monitored in the sense of, let's just say someone puts up a no swimming sign because they don't want you to come test the water. I mean, how does that work? You know, what's the agency that's monitoring that sort of situation?
So we keep an eye on things. We definitely, if there are beaches that have no swimming signs that we see being used regularly, we definitely communicate with those, you know, if it's a municipality, if it's a privately owned, like a homeowners association or something like that, we're not involved unless we're invited. But if it's municipally owned land, we do communicate with the municipality to say, hey, we've noticed there's activity here. We strongly encourage you to think about safety equipment, to plan. Unfortunately, like a lot of things, you know, safety equipment, lifeguard staff, it all costs money. And not all of the municipalities can afford to staff these beaches in compliance with New York State standards. So they have to put up the no swimming signs.
Understood. You know, and in a sense, it's, you know, putting up a no swimming sign is just, you know, just doing that, you know, in the sense that, you know, you still know that there's a risk there. And as a municipality, the risk is, you know, you remedy it as best as you can. And putting up a sign really isn't the best solution sometimes. So hopefully it's not too much of a common practice, but, you know, understand, so, understood. You know, this really just comes down to safety, and every year we have instances of things happening. Maybe not necessarily with the quality of water, this is in particular here, but also just incidences because it's not getting monitored properly.
Well,
It
and
happens.
unfortunately, people are also going to be people no matter how many signs and warnings and
That's
safety PSA sorts of things are available. You know, I can think of at least one drowning that happened a few years ago. People were swimming where they shouldn't have been swimming. Like very obviously swimming where they shouldn't have been swimming. So it's, you know, we can only do what we can do.
It happens.
Yeah.
I know.
But with all that said, it is impressive, the coverage that we have.
It is, yeah.
And
And that's, yeah, and any life is too much in the sense that, you know, and that's my point is any proactiveness that any that we can do to mitigate that is proper, you know. If you have an unsafe intersection, traffic intersection, you do everything you can to improve the safety of that intersection instead of letting accidents happen and saying, maybe we should change the configuration of that, or we need better signage or something. You know, and that's the proactive approach is.
Don't leave your bar of soap in the sand.
Yeah.
True, also, yes, that. I was just wanted to add, so there is the notification in the title also. So we do operate and maintain, the Chautauqua County Health Department has a recreational water safety website. So during the summer, we update that website regularly with our results. We only update the actual public swim beaches. So there's a variety of other beaches like children's camps and things that we monitor, but those don't get posted on our website because they're not really open to the public.
Right.
Questions, comments?
I am totally in favor of this.
Good. You can vote on it right now. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Opposed?
you.
Next proposed resolution is 13. It's to continue agreements with Health Research Incorporated to receive public health emergency preparedness funding.
So this is a similar vein of thought. This is These are funds that we receive annually through the state, but ultimately it's federal money that comes to us. And this, work in this program helps our county health staff to do trainings and to stay in touch with community partners and neighboring community partners to prepare for, you know, bad case scenarios. For instance, some of you may be aware of the issues that Ripley Reservoir had over the summer, well, into the concerns and water conservation efforts. Our public health emergency preparedness staff were involved with coordinating those efforts to ensure that that reservoir and the community members had water.
Questions, comments? Great program. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution is number 14. It's the amended 2026 budget for snowmobile trail development and maintenance grant.
Good morning, I'm Lauren Sharp with the Department of Planning and Development. This resolution is going to amend the 2026 budget to include the funds that we were awarded for the state's 25-26 snowmobile season. So our fiscal year does not align with the state's fiscal year, and we get notified grant award in November, and you guys do the budget in, you know, a lot earlier than that, so we just need to add some more money into our revenue account for state aid, and then we pay it out to our local snowmobile clubs. So it's completely passed through, no county funding involved.
How many clubs is this going, how many clubs do we have in the county now?
So this grant program, I work with 5 snowmobile clubs. There's more snowmobile clubs in the county that just don't do trail maintenance. So like the Vintage Snowmobile Club doesn't do trail maintenance. The Sunset Snowdrifters work with Cherry Creek snowgoers to groom their trails, so I only contract with Cherry Creek for grooming. So there's a few others, but this goes to Fund 5.
Right.
How many miles of trails do we have in town?
Of funded trails, we have 125. There are additional trails that aren't funded by the state. Those typically are to like restaurants and like they don't really connect to the trail. So if you're on the main trail and you want to go to Guppies, there's a snowmobile trail and it's groomed and it's maintained by a club, but it's not currently funded by the state. So we have a lot of those. And there's sections of Cherry Creeks that's not funded. The state put a cap and wouldn't allow any more trails to be funded, so they still maintain them. The state just doesn't give them money for it.
I remember years ago hearing the number 600 miles of snowmobile I'm just throwing that out there. I remember hearing
What is the
600
cap?
miles.
Well, if it's 600, that's, your cap theory isn't
Well,
working because she's at 425.
The state funds 425. As far as
Right.
what the clubs actually operate above and beyond
Sure.
that 425, I do not know.
Someone just threw the number out. They felt there was 600 miles of
Of all.
snowmobile trails in Chautauqua County. I'm not,
Through Pierre's backyard.
well, he's got a big backyard, so maybe it's 601. I don't know why I said that, other than,
It's interesting, the
Driving
state
down
puts,
like Great Vineyards at 1,000,000 miles an hour and you're begging to get decapitated when they slide into a wire, but,
right.
yeah, I got lots of trails up and down the Grape Rose. Anyway,
But we'll go with the 425
All
of
right.
funded. Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution, number 15, is to amend the capital project budget for the Northern Chautauqua Local Waterfront Revitalization Program.
I think I already did this.
Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance.
And Rebecca Worster, Planning Coordinator for the Department of Planning and Development.
Good morning. So in this past year, the fiscal year 2025, the Department of Finance did quite a look into the H account capital projects, and our first Deputy Director, Todd Button, had a question on the funding and project setup of this particular project. As I've been coming on board and getting more familiar with it, I took a look and gave my findings to them. But essentially, when we amended the budget to approve Phase 3 to an amount of $258,000, we didn't really take into account the prior phases up through Phase 2 that were already completed. So what you see on this resolution, the $65,814 that we're increasing this budget by, that is our expense through Phase 2 that was spent at the time of that resolution. That was an error. We should have increased the budget at that time. The New York State aid, you see, that was what we received through Phase 2 in 2023, and then that was our local share at the time of the resolutions in 23, moving this to Phase 3. So this is just correcting that error. Essentially, the project, Phase 3 is $258,000. The total project is $323 for all three phases, and that is the error.
Is it just an error in the process? It wasn't an error in any of the approvals, or?
I think there might have been, because I know I was a little confused when, because Phase 2, I don't think actually got completed, and I think that may have been, it's not completed, the funds may have been used, because this was done with a prior budget office, so it's kind of, that may have been the confusion, but these were actually book numbers that were on the books at that time, so.
Was it services that, you know, that we went above and beyond the original scope, or was it overruns? What was the?
No, so in Phase 2, we've been, gosh, this project has been in the making for probably about a decade now.
Yeah, it starts in 2014.
Yeah, 2014. So it's with 10 municipalities along our Lake Erie border. And ultimately, we were working on one regional local waterfront revitalization plan, very similar to Chautauqua Lakes, where it's one plan for all of the municipalities along the lake. Now, the state changed the rules in around 2020, 2021. They ultimately said, when we were in the middle of the project, that we needed to break up each municipality for its own individual plan. And that is a lot of work and planning to go from one regional plan that you basically have a draft in your hand for Department of State to review, to then breaking it up into individual plans. So ultimately, at the time, the steering committee and the Planning and Development Department said, well, we can't move forward with this unless we have additional grant funding. So the state came back to us and said, apply for a Phase 3 of the funding, and that will give us enough funding to work with the consultant to move these projects forward. So we are at the point that we're in the middle of our Phase 3 process. We're doing 8 individual plans for our 10 municipalities. They did allow us to combine the Village of Westfields and the Town of Westfield's plan, and the Village of Silver Creek and the Town of Hanover's planning efforts. So I think there was some confusion on, was Phase 2 completed, but unfortunately that was a little before my time. And the answer is no, that wasn't finalized and completed, but when the new budgeting came around for Phase 3, I think there was some confusion there on the total cost of Phase 2 going into Phase 3. So that was the change in the numbers and the confusion there.
No, and thank you for that. It sounds like a very complicated project.
It was very interesting to look back at it, going back 10 years.
I imagine that is difficult. And, you know, I think it's sad that the state had chosen to approach it in this manner, and it's sad that, you know, we don't have the power in that, and saying, look, you know, this project was in existence, has been in existence, and it should remain this way until the project is completed, before you change the rules on it, because it doesn't sound like, and I wish that we would be able to have more, I guess, a voice at the table in that, and I'm sure that they don't allow that voice at all.
Yeah, we tried. We really tried to get that option, but unfortunately, they just wouldn't allow it, so. Now we're at the place where, like I said, we're in the middle of drafting the 8 individual plans with our consultant's help, and I'm really I think we'll get to the point of a final draft plan by the end of 2026. So we'll be in a good place. The LWRP offers a lot of benefits as far as grant funding opportunities for projects within your LWRP. So it's a huge benefit to our municipalities for projects along the Lake Erie shoreline. And even if you have a draft plan in place, you can access those LWRP implementation funds. So huge benefit to those municipalities.
Are any of those municipality amounts real small? Like $10,000, $1,000, or are they all? pretty-
There's a range of projects, yeah, from small projects to larger projects. Gosh,
I'm just trying to add to my frustration of, you got three $5,000 projects that could have been a $15,000, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I think any way we could like combine them as one, it's important. And there's a minimum grant funding that you can go after for LWRP funding anyway, so you would have to meet that threshold anyway. I think it's like 25,000. So
Okay.
yeah, we'd have to combine projects no matter
So we're not
what.
messing with hundreds of dollars here,
Right.
breaking out. That makes me feel better.
Yes,
Okay.
no, they're big, substantial projects, yes.
Thanks.
All right, and that,
Can you give me an example of one? I'm from Jamestown, so I'm not.
Yep.
I'm thinking Lake Erie shoreline, what kind of projects are we talking about?
I mean, you could be calling
could
out
tell.
erosion control, you could be calling out water quality improvement projects, you could be calling out park improvement projects along Lake Erie. As far as Chautauqua Lakes and how they've utilized the funding, we were able to help Mayville get the funding for the Lakeside Park projects. That's an LWRP. Another one that when we did have the draft plan is one regional plan. We were able to go after a little funding for kayak launches. So town of Hanover, city of Dunkirk, and Barcelona got a kayak launch, and actually we did one for Chautauqua Lake as well. So we were able to gain funding for those type of things. Water quality, the pier, Dunkirk Pier's taking advantage of that. So, yeah,
Promoting tourism.
water improvements, anything around those aspects, yeah.
and the sad thing is the more red tape you have is the projects just don't get done as efficiently as they could be, or, you're trying to remedy a problem that needs attention and you can't, and the problem gets worse, too, and so it's, hopefully the red tape stuff is gonna be less and less for you, but I don't believe that it will be.
Well, it's gonna be less,
There's
yeah.
always
Less red
something
tape
new.
is our.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All
Aye.
opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution is number 16, which is to amend the 2026 budget countywide resiliency grant. Boy, I've had a couple of tongue twister words today.
That's all right. It gets me sometimes too. This is to amend our 2026 budget to reflect a grant that we accepted in 2024. As I've mentioned, we've been working through the LWRP and a lot of different other planning efforts, but finally we're at the point where we have an RFP out for consultants to get started on this project January. So those RFPs are due in December 22nd, and in January we'll select that consultant. But ultimately, this is to carry forward those grant funds into 2026. We have the grant funding of $144,000, and then we do have our match already budgeted into the 2026 budget. So we didn't know if we were going to be spending those funds a little bit at the end of 2025. So I didn't want to put it in the budget when it was budget time. So I wanted to make the amendment now that I know, we ultimately didn't spend any funds in 2025, but we will be in 2026.
Okay. Questions, comments? Sounds good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution, number 17, is to approve the Secret review of the 2% in lake occupancy tax grant program projects for 2026.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave McCoy. I work in the Department of Planning and Development. I'm the Chautauqua County Watershed Coordinator. 2% occupancy tax program annually gives out occupancy tax grant awards, improve water quality, improve tourism, recreation opportunities in Chautauqua County. Program is split into two parts last year. We have an in-lake program, which we'll talk about first in the first resolution. Then we have a watershed program, which we'll talk about in the second resolution. In the first resolution, we propose to give out two grants. One is to the town of Chautauqua to help support the MobiTac program, and the other is to the Chautauqua Lake Association for operational assistance in 2026.
Questions, comments? One operational question I have is, how do you pick the project? I'm sure there were other projects in consideration, but how did you come to the conclusion to select these two?
As we have for the last 10 years, we have a scoring matrix,
Mm-hmm.
and the better projects rise to the top, other projects don't.
Mm-hmm. And then they continually seek funding. If their project doesn't make the cut, they may seek funding elsewhere or bring it back to you the following year.
Yeah, neither of these awards fully fund those programs.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, with the town of Chautauqua, we're essentially funding some of the costs of their labor and some of their fuel. They have other costs like repairs and administrative costs, those sorts of things. You know, CLA, their budget's, like 1.3 million for 2025. So only a small part, but it
Yeah.
helps.
Sure, yeah. Well, you gotta pay the bills, so any little bit helps. Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next proposed resolution is 18, is approve the secret 30 review of 2% watershed occupancy tax grant program projects for 2026.
Other side of the program, these are our watershed, not in lake. We received 9 applications, these 3 rows above the others. First is improving the buffer at Cray Point Park, publicly accessible place, a park, nice place. We'll be doing native plantings around the perimeter, and which will help for a lot of things. We want to improve water quality from runoff there, but also help to keep the darn geese out of there because they don't like going across those buffers. If you go to the Cray Park, you better bring a tennis racket, because the geese will come and get you. The next one is Chautauqua County Fair Drainage Improvements. Again, a small part of a much bigger project. There was a feasibility study done several years ago on how to improve fair drainage, because when we get some intense rainfall events, the fair floods. Runoff goes through the barns, through the grounds, but it also floods the street out in front of the fair. So this is to help fund a replacement and increase in size of the drainage system that runs through the fairgrounds, across the track, and then into Crooked Brook. So it helps Lake Erie, helps the fairgrounds, does a lot of good things. And then lastly is Elm Lane Green Infrastructure. This is within the Chautauqua Institution. Again, a small part of a bigger project. They're doing some really interesting things with green infrastructure, stuff that hasn't been done around here ever that I'm aware of. A very good project. If you're familiar with Chautauqua Institution, it's pretty steep. Streets are narrow, and water just runs straight down them and into the lake without a lot of opportunity to improve it. This will change it on one of those streets.
Questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Carried. Thank you. I think that's it for our resolutions today. At this time, we are through our resolutions. We can get into our discussion item. So let's do it. Today we have a discussion. It's on state legislation regarding short-term rentals. Be presented by our finance director, Kitty Crow today. Both mine. Thank you.
Good morning, Kitty Crow, Director of Finance. What I handed out to you are just copies of one, our existing local law regarding occupancy tax, and then the other item I provided is a copy of the state's legislation as it was amended earlier this year. So the state's legislation, just to kind of just to recap from the last time we talked about this, it now has imposed a sales tax on short-term rentals. So that is now being collected by third-party, like the Airbnbs and Verbos of the world, the platforms, and that's remitted directly to the state. And then the state passes that on to counties of the sales tax that was collected. So that part's pretty simple. We did, just as an aside, include some additional sales tax in our budget for 2026 based on the knowledge that we would start to see the sales tax on short-term rentals being collected through the state. Additionally, in the state's legislation, they created options where local occupancy tax would be collected through the platforms and remitted to the individual counties. And there's more than one way that can, happen. So currently, under our current operations, we have a voluntary client with Airbnb. So anyone in our county, whether they followed our local law and registered or not, so if they're not compliant, they haven't registered, we're still getting the revenue because Airbnb is collecting it and remitting it to us. But we may be missing some if they're renting on other platforms like VRBO, because we don't have a voluntary collection agreement with them, or we haven't. But under the new legislation, they're required to collect occupancy tax and remit it. Now, it gets kind of complicated in the state legislation, but they have kind of two options, but really really more three options. You can opt out of the state. Opting into the state legislation means we're going to create a registry system, and any third-party platform that's renting properties on their platform is then required to collect the occupancy tax and remit it to us. That would require us to have like an interface probably with those platforms so they can get real-time registry information. So it requires anybody who's renting to be registered before they even have their site open for business on a platform like Airbnb. So, every county's kind of doing this a little bit differently depending on how much, tourism is a factor in their counties. So that registry in a lot of counties, we were planning to go to a registry system anyways, okay? We wanted, the more up-to-date software that will allow people to register online, pay online, allow us to communicate through email more easily, send reminders, et cetera. It would also help us estimate taxes if people haven't submitted their returns. And it also actually shows us where somebody is non-compliant. It shows us actual advertisements on the different platforms, and it will tell us that they're not registered, yet they're advertising their should be paying occupancy tax. It's pretty sophisticated stuff, and we are in the process of implementing such software right now. It should be up, mid to late January. So then there's the official opting out part of the state legislation. And when you're opting out, what you're really doing is opting out of having a registry. And then there's like a third definition in the state legislation, is that if you're already what they call in here a covered jurisdiction, meaning you're a county who already has a registry and you're already, collecting occupancy tax, you kind of don't have to do anything. So, and Nate Harp in the county attorney's office really did a great job for me, kind of boiling down the scenarios for us. And in the summary that he provided me, it appears to me that our best course of action really is kind of to do status quo. Meaning we don't need to do anything. We don't need to pass legislation to officially opt out. If we do opt out, we're allowed to opt in at some point in time. By continuing to do what we're doing now, we have a registry, and we will be able to collect the fees just as we are now. VRBO already is collecting and remitting because they're required under the local law. So we're already receiving those revenues through them. But our registry system that we are moving forward with will allow us to see who's non-compliant. And we will be able to do that enforcement by outreach to them to get them registered.
This isn't a critical question, but we only know about the ones that we know about. Are there many still out there doing these rentals?
So that's what this software will do. It utilizes like GPS technology and GIS, and it's like an AI type of thing, or it's looking at all the platforms that are advertising, and it's able to utilize the GIS system to actually locate the physical address, and then it shows, and it'll pull in the advertisements into the software, so we will be able to add on Airbnb. Here was their ad on VRBO. This was the average nightly rate that was being rented out, and that will allow us to better, and then we'll already know who is registered. So if the system is seeing that they're not registered, it's gonna send a flag to my team, and we'll be able to.
Will it be able to track people? I mean, I assume there's still some that aren't on Airbnb and aren't on.
Yeah, so that may be, it does search a mass number of form. It's not just Airbnb and
somehow
VRBO,
we
but
might possibly be flagged.
But there are still probably people that you go to someplace down the road this year and you rent it through Airbnb, and then you talk to the owner and say, hey, I'll come back next year. They're not renting through a platform. They're not.
Right, and that's how I do it, because then I don't have to pay the.
However, that entity renting is under the law, under our current local law, they are obligated to collect the occupancy tax and remit it. So if we see that entity, they're not gonna do all their rentals that way, so we're gonna know that they're operating business, and under our local law, we are allowed to do audits.
And I think this is great, because when this all first started, 15, whenever it was, it was a volunteer registration, remember?
Yeah,
There
and
was
we,
no way
and
to
we have,
enforce
you
it.
know, anytime somebody emails me or talks to me and says, hey, I think my neighbor's renting, and I said, okay, well, just, you can just leave their name and address on my desk, and
Right.
our team will send them a letter and tell them that they
Right.
should register, and we'll follow up.
Is there any way to collect back sales tax or?
Well, the
or any
sales tax,
penalties?
we don't collect the sales tax. That goes to the state, and then they
Okay.
send it to the, municipality that it's associated with. What we need to focus on is just our occupancy tax, which we do collect here, and it's as a result of our local law.
Right. And I want to say, I think we're doing a good job doing it. I'm just, yeah.
So there are some other, let me just try to take another quick look through here. So if we're opting out, like I said, technically, the way the state legislation reads, we're opting out of doing a registry. It's confusing language. But we can still impose an occupancy tax, and we can easily opt back in if we choose to later. If we, use the state's registry system, it has to meet certain standards, and certain reporting requirements, but there's less flexibility there, and we cannot switch back to our own registry. We cannot, once we're opted, in, we don't opt back out.
You can't change.
Yeah, so, however, because in Nate's read of the law, we are what they refer to as a covered jurisdiction. A county who already has a registry, because, our registry up until what we're implementing now is and it's an Excel spreadsheet, but that's we give people a certificate number, they have to file a return, if they don't file the return, we can go so far as to, put a lien on their property, for non-payment. So as a covered jurisdiction, we don't need to officially, opt out in order to continue with our registry and continue collecting occupancy tax under our local law. So that's Nate's read as kind of our three options.
Can I ask a question in the sense of, out of the discussion today, are you looking for guidance, direction, or are you making, what's the process, just so I understand that?
Yeah, so kind of some of the purpose of today is just to provide information.
Okay.
I'm not looking for any actions of your committee today.
Yep.
But I'm just trying to get all of you up to speed as I'm kind of vetting this with the law department. And so
Understood.
we do have until, I think it's June of this year, if there was a desire to officially opt out, there would need to be legislative action to do that.
Okay.
But in Nate's view, by us being a covered jurisdiction, we don't need to take any action to continue on our current path.
And that's what I think we should do.
Yeah, no, and so, and that's where I think,
That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, I think,
We're doing good.
we're appreciative of the update and the information in sense too, but also we'll trust the decision that you, along with the law department, come up with, and which we should do, which way we should be conducting this in sense of the efficiencies of the processes and the what it, demand it puts on the departments, and the factor of what information we need to utilize to garnish the.
I do want to make one point before Legislator
Sure.
Johnson leaves. I just want to say, though, that I do expect to bring some suggestions for changes to our local law, just to kind of update some things into our current processes or make it a little bit more streamlined in a couple of areas. Not major changes, but there are some changes, I think, that would just kind of make things a little bit more clear. So,
so the-
in the first part of next year, I do expect to kind of come to the legislature with a couple of recommendations for changes to our local law.
So this local law came
Pertain
in
to
at-
what we're doing currently.
Currently, yeah, to our current local law.
Right, that
yeah.
sounds,
Yeah.
again, like the good route.
This local law was originally introduced in 2008. I can always decipher, and then it was amended, the last time it's been looked at and amended is in 2013, is that correct?
Sounds about right, yeah, so just a side note on that, so the version of the local law I gave you is the current, like Nate put together, there was a couple amendments, so he included the amendments in the copy that I gave
Okay.
you. So that's a fully amended local law version.
Yep, no, and I would, as things change or progress, I would expect that we would need to do some amending to this as to keep up with the current time. And-
Yeah, I think some, like, as far as how we estimate taxes owed if somebody has not submitted a return. There's also instances where, like, right now, our current certificate is just valid until somebody says, I'm no longer doing business, and turns it in. So, the state law, if we're opting in, does require a re-registration every 2 years. And while I kind of don't feel like we need to opt in now, I mean, if something changes, I almost wonder if at some point the state might drop that. I don't know. Every county is dealing with this different. It's been very confusing for everyone. It's been a topic of many conferences I've gone to.
Does
But-
any responsibility fall on the individual municipalities
For collecting occupancy tax? No, but
in
under the-
monitoring of some sort, or?
But, they sometimes have their own, code enforcement issues, and I think that is part of the opting in as well. There's some language in the state law in terms of, having to have a fire alarm and things like that, whereas we're not in the position as the county to enforce things like that. But the other things is in our current local law to be like, if somebody ceases to do business, sometimes they just stop sending their return in, but they really should be sending in their certificate and telling us they no longer. So maybe we should consider, a period of time in which somebody needs to re-register. So that will be a topic that I'll, want to have some discussion about with you to see what your thoughts about that are.
So it's a similar example I'm thinking of in the back of my head is let's just say we have a oil and gas lease, and that gas lease all of a sudden becomes, we're still collecting the taxes, but they're not doing anything with it, and the particular assessors didn't make an adjustment or identify that they weren't harvesting it.
Yeah.
So now let's just say the same thing. We're the county is then forced to, if those participants aren't informing you, they're still part of that registry. So it can be a confusing situation where, 10 years down the road, where are they and what limbo state?
So right now, what
So-
happens as far as occupancy, if somebody isn't submitting their return because they stopped doing business, we don't know that if they don't tell us. So what
Yeah.
we're doing is saying, hey, you haven't submitted your tax return this year, so we're sending out letters, we're sending out certified letters, then we still haven't heard from them, then we're getting to there's a lien on the property, and all because, then finally they might reach out and say, well, I haven't been renting. So it's,
It's a lot
and
of
those are one-offs, but it's work of the law department, it's work of, my staff. So we're, some things like that. So there might be some justification for having people re-register, every 2 years maybe. But this new
Is there a
software is
fee to
really gonna,
register?
pardon?
Is there any kind of a fee to register?
Right now, we don't charge a fee. That's also something we could consider, what-
So- So, just a clarity too, your reimbursement, so you do ascertain a portion of this for reimbursement for the management and
For
monitoring
collection
and collection?
enforcement. So, yeah, our
So-
department does receive a portion of the occupancy tax to cover collection and enforcement activity.
Is it a percentage based on the total amount, or is it a fixed?
Well, our share has been fixed the last couple of years, but the overall amount of the occupancy tax that can be used for administration, is a fixed percentage of the total
Of the total
occupancy
amount.
tax.
So
So
if you-
we're kind of included in that, because there's other administrative costs that are, covered by,
Okay.
under the administrative.
In the past, the state wasn't as concerned about this because they weren't getting sales tax from it. It was our our tax to collect for us, right?
Yeah. So,
Now, the state, which we benefit from part of the sales tax, but
Yeah.
before that, there was no sales tax, so.
on short-term rentals. so like
Short-term
just
rentals,
the-
so
Yeah.
their skin in the game was,
They didn't care.
right, so. I like the idea of staying where we're at, because we have the option to opt in, should we choose to do that.
Correct.
Knowing if we come back,
Correct.
I'm-
And maybe, like a year from now or 2 years from now, we'll see how it's going for the rest of the counties who have opted in and,
because when we started this, the Airbnb
it wasn't as big
wasn't
a,
even a thing, and then it became a thing, but it still wasn't required. So we've benefited from some of
Yeah.
the rules changing that they have to,
so,
they take care of that for us. Before, it was just us trying to collect occupancy tax.
Yeah.
Sure, and who's, there's a lot of Bobs out there that are gonna try to circumvent that system.
Oh, I
so-
still do, yeah.
I remember our law, says hotel, motel, it doesn't say short-term rental.
what is defined as, it is in
It's
there.
understood.
Yeah.
It's understood.
Yes.
But if you read further into it, it does define
define
what
it,
is this,
but
like
that's
rentals
just the
under
title.
30 day, less than 30 days, and that sort of thing, so,
Okay.
but,
Maybe.
yeah.
Are there a lot of, you mentioned Airbnb and,
VRBO,
are there more than those two?
Home Away, those three are probably the bigger,
Big Bob's Rental.
but under the state law, like, the definition of platform is kind of broad. It's like anywhere you're advertising on the internet is it's very, very broad. So, it could include like real estate firms that are, manage rental properties. We do have some of them that they, manage and they collect the taxes and do the accounting for and do the remittance of the tax returns to the county on the behalf of the property owners whose rentals they manage. So there's a variety. The main thing with opting in is if we want to be a little bit, more hardline on making sure somebody is compliant and registered with the county before they can even start to do business on a platform. If we wanted to go that route, that would, to make it not so hard for people to do business, there's it's that obstacle to doing business is kind of the way I can look at it, but everyone, some people are a little bit more, no, we want everyone to be, 100% compliant before they start advertising. So it's just, you probably your own personal opinion on that position.
Has this been a good source of revenue for the county?
Yeah, so I believe roughly it's about $2 million a year in revenues that we collect in occupancy tax that are utilized for the.
But when you say that, I think all the hotels and motels, not
Correct.
Airbnb.
That includes any short-term
short-term
rental,
rental.
anybody, the
Just 2
people,
million
renting.
short-term rentals.
Yeah.
It includes short-term
Can you
rentals,
separate
hotel.
You know what I mean, I don't know, the Holiday Inn from a short-term
Yeah, we have different categories of the payers of the occupancy tax, but they're all required to pay. So somebody, you know, doing a short-term rental, less than 30 days, should be registered and collecting occupancy tax. And so when we register somebody, we put them in a category of the type of payer they are, if they're a hotel motel, if they're a bed and breakfast, if they're, you know, just somebody who, you know, goes on vacation and rents on Airbnb, they're
Well,
like, you know.
And at the end of the day, this isn't supposed to be complicated. If you were in a position of providing short-term rentals, you should know the law and the procedures, and that you have to
Yeah.
take part in this system. And I'm sure a phone call to the county will say, what are we supposed to do? And you can explain it to them, you know.
Yeah.
And also,
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I've
you know, at the end of
probably
the day,
helped
it's-
6 people, when I had the hardware store at the time, they would come in and they'd go, what's this? And usually the mistake that was being made, if you can call it a mistake, was they were absorbing the 5%. I said, no, you can charge your $500 a week plus $25. And then it was like, oh, well, then
Yeah,
I'll
and-
register for sure. And I
well,
was like,
yeah, and it's up to
There
those
you go.
individuals.
Yeah.
That's what, you know, people aren't gonna,
right.
like, I haven't reserved renting a place before because there was a $8 fee for this or
Because that no longer exists.
You know,
You
'cause
can't go anywhere without paying a
it,
bed
it
tax.
happens, you know, and that's.
Not that it makes it right, it just, but
It's the way it
the other
is.
cool thing is, cool, did I say cool in the legislative meeting? We take these monies in and we do good things with them.
right.
Tourism
I mean,
and
it-
waterways. And
Yeah, I mean, it goes back
it's a
into
direct
making-
benefit to the county.
to make it a place people wanna come
Yeah.
and, you know,
And those, to those contributors, you know, and that's
Yeah.
where, you know, those people
Right.
that are renting a short-term rental can now utilize one of those kayak docks that were put in.
Sure.
And that's what brought them there to begin with, right? You
Right.
know, so the money that was being, you know,
Right.
contributed, it goes, that's the direct benefit.
It's a direct hit.
Yep.
It's a local. yeah,
Agreed,
it's a
full
good thing.
circle.
so I'll just continue to update you and, you know, like I said, I'll be back with a couple of, but, you know, just if you could hold on to those, handouts, that way if we have to refer back to them in another meeting, that you have them handy.
Did you do them in
I
col-
will
do 'em
file
in
that
color next time?
accordingly.
And if you, obviously, if you're reading through it, feel free to reach out with any questions.
On page 74 of the
Yeah.
state.
So,
Thanks, Dave.
and then, you know, once we have our software up and running, I'll maybe see if we can do a little demo of stuff. So, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Good job. I like it.
Thank
There's not a clean page on the state version in the sense
No,
that it's
I
been.
know, it's
It's-
very hard.
It's been, well, it's been crossed out, added to, and.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what a,
Imagine the time they spent marking up those bills.
Well, yeah, and that's like, I like the initiative of the law department a lot of times, just to rewrite it and have a new one and get rid of the old one, so you actually have a clean document.
Yeah.
Now, I guess
Yeah,
sometimes
that
it's
would
nice.
be 3 full-time people.
Yeah.
That's why I say, stay local. It's working.
So, is there anything else under other that anyone would like to bring to the order?
Not me.
This is our December meeting.
I'm sorry.
Sure, I suppose I can allow it.
I'll email you, but, I could email you, but since I'm thinking of it, I did wanna, ask to be on the agenda next month to, provide an update on the investment portfolio.
Sounds good. Thank you. Just take the opportunity to say we've commenced a year of appointments on the Audit and Control Committee. Obviously, we will be up for some new appointments. If you wish to be reassigned to the committee, Chairman Chagnon will be taking those considerations here next month, and
Amen.
just appreciate everyone's efforts that they've done serving this year, and hope that Tom, you're a new member. Have you enjoyed serving on the committee and appreciated the work we do?
It's been interesting, I've learned a lot. I would like to be on it again, but that's, you know, up to the chairman and
Okay,
our leadership too, I think, saying that. But we'll see what happens.
sure.
I'm open
So,
to it.
you know, I think the work that we've done as a committee has been good throughout this year. If anyone, you know, thinks that we should look into something next year or do something more, you know, we'll bring it to whoever the new chairman is next year. Those appointments haven't been made yet. So, yeah, good work.
I'm good.
We will have a new member anyway, so those considerations are being considered, so. All right, anything else under other?
Just to adjourn.
And motion has been made to adjourn, a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor is aye. We're adjourned, thank you.
Thank you.
Need another-
Kevin,
They sat there all meeting.
these were in, Tim Card gave them to me. Jay and I used to eat them in the back. So it was in memory of Jay Gould. So enjoy chewing on Jay.
I will.